Hello, everyone. Ah, I'm so happy to see that some of you are already here. Well, we have about 3 minutes before we begin. It's almost 10 p.m. local time here in Israel, and well, it's not the most popular time for the Voyagers as well, but I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you so much for spending your weekend with me. Thank you so much. With me and some outstanding, absolutely remarkable Jewish women. Hi, Kari, Sandra, Marianne. Hi, Charity. Barbara, hello, dear, again. Clive, hello. Is Karen around? Hi, Joanne, Valerie. The other Barbara, hello. Busy day, yeah, absolutely. Risa, hi, dear. Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol, you have Israeli flag on your avatar. I'm so sorry. I must have forgotten. I must have asked you before if you're from Israel. If yes, from which city? If you're okay saying this. I'm so sorry. It's just not very good with names, with places. I mean, I'm a tour guide, but still, it's not that easy to remember every of the words. But I'm kind of enjoying it that we're gonna have a little get together. I'm totally aware this is not the most popular topic as well. And I hope that at least some of you have seen the tour that Olga from Kiev, the marvelous Kiev, our Ukrainian tour guide, she's just wrapped up the tour in Vienna. And well, I've just been there, just took a sneak peek. It's amazing. So I hope you managed to join. Hi, Karen. Are you coming all the way from Vienna? Hello, hello. Hi, Judith, as well. Also, thank you, Karen, for all the love words. One, two, three. It's four love words in a very, very short sentence. Thank you so much. Yes, you've come back, having my back. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, and I'm so happy. Kari, hey again. I'm so happy to see that many of you actually joined a few hours ago our collaboration with Olga from Odessa. We did a tour about the Jewry of the Russian Empire, so before the revolution of 1917, about the Trotsky, Brodsky, and Vysotsky. The three big families, well, two about the business. The Trotsky is about politics, but it's a big deal anyway. And these, if you miss them, so these tours are not going to be written, the recordings are not going to be provided, at least for now. So we are planning to run it for the second time because Olga received a massive number of messages of her audience not being able to join this time. So we're probably running it sometime in April as well. We'll see. Olga is the boss. And thanks so much for the support, and thank you also for joining me and my family yesterday for our food academy tour. We cooked two Israeli dishes, well, actually Ashkenazi dish and sort of Middle Eastern / Sephardic dish. This tour is available for sponsors, so it's there. And yes, I will be sharing the recipe probably tonight. I just really didn't have time, to share this and to process everything. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. So it's time to begin, and I really don't want to overrun. So we better start now. I see also some new names. So let me introduce myself very quickly and to explain also what we're going to see today. So my name is Anna. I'm going to do it in 1 minute. So for everyone who knows my story, please bear with me for 1 minute. So my name is Anna. I'm a tour guide from St. Petersburg, but I am in Israel. And actually yesterday we celebrated our first anniversary since our aliyah to Israel, which means our immigration to Israel. Of course, assuming the topic of the tour, most of you are aware what Aliyah is, but so I'm taking this tour as if I'm introducing the audience to well, about the, not really about the specifics of Judaism, right? But so the basic things that might be, well, that are definitely familiar to a Jew or to those who are interested in the Jewish world. But I'm assuming that we also have those who are not really aware but are interested. So we are here for edutainment. So Aliyah is immigration to Israel, which actually means, you can translate it literally as ascension, right? So you're going up Mount Zion, so return to the historic motherland, the Holy Land. So this is it. I'm not Jewish. My husband is, so we're here now. And I'm also starting to become a tour guide again, and I'm almost halfway through. It's not an easy way to follow, but it's a very interesting and enjoyable one. But since my day one, when I arrived to Israel, I started learning about this country. And one of the first things that I got interested in is the people that made this country again. Because Israel is a very new country, well, modern state of Israel. It was established in 1948, so it's like 74, 75 years old only. And this is remarkable of how this country was established and just the history of the Jewish people and all the people that actually made it possible. And since March is, in March we celebrate International Women's Day, my original plan was to run one tour just to mark the Women's Day. But then I was looking through my notes. My phone is full of notes, really, and I was looking and I had a special list, in my notes about Jewish women. Let's say I'll walk along the street and I see, Sarah Aronson Street. I did that, and I didn't know who Sarah Aronson was, but now I know. And in the previous episode, we actually talked about her. And I would, okay, so who was Sarah Aronson? And I would stop, or I would just put it in my notes, jot it down, and then I'll just go and look it up. And so for now, I have, I don't know, about like 50, maybe 70 names, which it is absolutely impossible. It was impossible to choose from, and the list is endless, absolutely. And I realized at some point, actually about a few hours before I was supposed to run the only part of the Remarkable Jewish Ladies Tour last weekend, I realized that no way I'm going to choose just these 4 ladies. And I realized to make it into a number of series, actually 4 episodes. And it's not an International Women's Day tour, it's the International Women's Month tour. Why not, right? So, hi, Rini. Hi, dear. I'm happy to see you. Hi, Olga again. Hi, Cindy. How are you feeling, dear? Oh, thank you so much, Karen, for the tipping. I haven't started yet, but thank you, dear. Thank you so much. Hi, Stephanie again. Hi. Olga, it was so much fun seeing you just a few weeks ago. Amazing. So Olga just made a trip a week ago or 2 weeks ago to Israel, and we actually met. It's fantastic. Okay, so another remarkable Jewish lady. So what we're going to do is the presentation. It's a presentation from home with the videos that I sourced from the internet. So I'm going to switch off the lights and turn the camera, set things up, and we'll begin. So, remarkable Jewish ladies. For those who haven't seen part 1, so there is no logic really behind the ladies I've chosen for the particular tour. There is no even like the time framework or a specific period that I'm going to talk about. And basically it's just my own choice. Rebecca Fachiner. I don't think that it is a very familiar name. It's okay if you haven't heard about her. But I'm not sure about Edith Cavell, but she definitely met Henrietta Zold. Because she also was at the footsteps of establishing women's organizations, establishing women's international Zionist organization as well. and many and just helped young Jewish ladies in the States after they would escape from the pale settlements in Western Europe, in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine after the pogroms. This was those were difficult times, definitely for Jews of that corner of the world. Let me just put it like this. Unlike most Jewish women, she was childless. She was a loner in a way, passionate, adventurous, well-educated, and cosmopolitan. She was a traveler. She never really built a family, but her friends, the people she met in her life, they would automatically become her friends. People would be charmed with the personality of Rebecca Fahiner. I would like to fill you in about who she is and what really makes her that special and remarkable. Hi, Dolly again. Please let me know if you actually know Rebecca Fahiner. I'm not really familiar with how popular she is. But she must be, because she's definitely more popular in the States with the Jewish organizations in the States, but still. And when I looked up about her, I also found some letters and memoirs, and this phrase just definitely stuck in my mind. I have waited my entire lifetime to see the rebirth of a Jewish state. I do not intend to miss it. And what she had done to pursue her dream and to see the rebirth of the Jewish state, well, yes, it's remarkable. So that's why she is here on my list. Oh, Risa, so you heard of her. Amazing. Well, Dolly is from Israel. Well, I would say that most of the work was done before the state would be established, and mostly in the States, because the organizations that she would be working for, they are in the States. However, they really helped the Zionism, of course, absolutely. So she was from the modern day Belarus, born in a very small town called Nesvish. Of course, she was from a religious family. Of course, many children. This is her. Take a look at the posture. Definitely a little bit a girl of her own, right? Stands out for sure. You never heard of her, Lisa? Olga, you've never heard of her in the States. Well, I'm here to just make her known, right? Little Miss Attitude, absolutely. Yeah, well, definitely. Yes. I really love this photograph. I really looked at it for a long time. So this is the small synagogue in the Nesvish. Well, it's called Great Synagogue, but you would be surprised to know, like in a very, very small towns in Belarus, modern day Belarus, Ukraine, there could be 8 synagogues, because the majority of population actually would be Jews, because they were not allowed to live in the big cities. They were allowed to live in pale settlements, right? So the designated areas where the Jews could live. So, I found this photograph, so it's pretty much speaks for itself. So the Great Synagogue in a small city of Nesvish, so modern day Belarus. And up until the revolution of 1917, and also in the Soviet times, Belarus would be, within the Russian Empire, and then in the Soviet Union. Clive, those tours are so important to demonstrate. There are so many amazing women. Yes, absolutely. Jews, Zionists. Yes. And it's okay that you don't know some of them or all of them. It's totally fine. I'm here to spread the word about them. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ronnie. Thank you. So she was born in Nesvish, and she managed to immigrate because of the pogroms. She managed to escape to the States, and already in 1904, she started in the turn of the 20th century. So she would find her, well, she would move to the States. She would study hard. She would study both. It was a very typical thing back in the day. So you study Torah, you both have religious studies and secular studies. And already by December 1904, she became a teacher at an evening course in Jewish Theological Seminary. How fun, right? But while many of her contemporaries would noted that so not only she was good, well, let's say in the Jewish studies, but like everything. She was educated beyond her time, way more educated than many of her contemporaries, than many of her peers. And this is fantastic. And she started as just an evening teacher, but then her love of teaching and just helping the girls, because she would be helping the girls that she was just the same kind of girl a few years before when she came to the States. She was from a small town, like you can imagine, like a country girl from a small city, from a small community that had to be very cautious of, be careful about the people. And then she finds herself in an absolutely different country, speaking different language. However, she was very good at English and a few more languages. So she was given very good education also before coming to the States. So she knew what those girls were going through, and she would help them every step of the way, just like Henrietta Zoll did. And then eventually they would meet, and we will talk about it. And over here, oh, it's good. Yes, so I see that, and nothing is cut out from the screen, which is fine. Many women were simply denied education. Yes, absolutely, Risa, as well. Yes, and she was raised well, and she was given education. She was not denied education. So, and in the States, of course, many organizations, the Zionist organizations that helped to the new immigrants, the Jewish immigrants, they actually strived for just for the families to allow their daughters to study, because the education is what was essential in the new country. This is true. So, and she knew that. So, and this is just from one class, from evening class, she would become one of the most popular teachers. Well, for example, in Hudson and Home for Delinquent Girls, for example, and just the new immigrant girls, she would help them with the language, teaching them English, religious studies too, but mostly about how to get by in the new country, how to adapt to it. Her education was advanced for those days. Absolutely, Lisa. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But not just among the girls that would be coming from the Pale settlements, but just even her peers in the States. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and you remember that Henrietta Zold was the one who established the Women's Zionist Organization. So, Rebecca Fahina was there in the first meetings in February 22nd, when this first meeting was arranged. So she was there. She was there. She talked to Henrietta Zold, and Henrietta Zold, we know that she would be initiating and assisting all the way through for Aliyah, right? So immigration to Israel of Jews from different backgrounds. And Rebecca Fahina would do the same. But there was a group of like 20 girls from one of her classes, girls from Romania, Jewish girls from Romania. And it was taking like way too long. And Rebecca thought, I call her Rebecca. Well, I don't know. It's like, she's like become a friend of mine now. I don't know. I spent so much time like researching about these ladies, and I admire her so much. So Rebecca, thought it was taking like way too long, and Henrietta Zold run in a big organization called Hadassah. Well, it did sometimes take much time, to arrange everything properly by the book and everything in compliance with the law. So she took her own money and she donated them. She sponsored, and these girls and Rebecca, they went to Palestine. So they did it. So she helped the women. She visited Palestine several times. So I'm saying Palestine because before 1917 it was the Ottoman Palestine. Then it would be mandatory Palestine up until 1948. It was under control, well, of the British Army. So we can imagine how many girls she would be helping also in Palestine. But her job was not over. She would help numerous fundraiser organizations. And you see here Chaim Weizmann, the future, he's still the president to be of the Jewish state, Chaim Weizmann. And you can see, of course, Albert Einstein. So, but even before that, in 1917, finally, when the Balfour Declaration was published, and the world and the British, well, they acknowledged the possibility to establish the Jewish state, after which they would get the mandate from the United Nations to ensure and facilitate the establishment of the two states, the Arab state and the Jewish state. And well, the story, I'm not going into details, but you need to know a little bit of a background for those who are not exactly in the loop. I'm so sorry. For those who are aware, I'm so sorry, I need to repeat myself. And also, Afahina, Rebecca, was there to talk to President Harding. So she was trying to make sure that the U.S. administration also acknowledges it. Also, so she wanted to spread the word and mean the upper echelons of the American politics. And later on in the 20s, when Albert Einstein visited together with Chaim Weizmann the States, she managed to it was like 1921, if I'm not mistaken. She managed to arrange a fundraiser event. She managed to draw them to Connecticut. So Einstein and Weizmann, and she raised $25,000 for that. So they just participated in the evening. It was just a sort of a few hours event. And of course, those money would be donated to the good cause. It's all good. Repetition helps one learn. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Rebecca was there. She did a great job. She would be helping not only in America, sending girls, first of all, help their adaptation and transition to the new country, for those who came from, let's say, from Europe, right, from pale settlements to the States, but also those who wished. She wouldn't force them to make Aliyah, to immigrate to Israel, but those who wanted to, she would help, she would provide help every step in the way. But then, so when the Second World War started, she would be also helping girls. She would fly to Europe where it was possible, and she would be taking the girls from the orphanages, and she would be also taking care of them. So, there was also refugees, children of Tehran. So in Iran, there was also the Jews in Tehran were also persecuted. There was a terrible story. I'm not going into the details, but they were sort of pogroms, but pogrom is not the correct word. But there was also many conflicts, and the communities in Tehran were in danger. So she also helped those children. I had a lot of bad hair days. Yes, every day was a bad hair day for sure. And you remember her quote that she would give everything to see the establishment of the Jewish state. And guess what? She actually did. She actually did. So she on May 14th in 1948, she saw she saw David Ben Gurion. Well, she signing the Declaration of Independence, and she so she saw that. She saw it. She would die shortly afterwards, but she did see the establishment of State of Israel. So yeah, that's the story. Okay, again, there is no logic behind like why I chose this or this woman, and I definitely assume that some women did more than the others, but I believe that each and every one of these women, they did a great job in this or that way. Yeah, it's great that you're enjoying the bad hair day of of Einstein. I think all of his days were bad hair days, but still. Okay, so now serious business here. Rachel, okay, Rachel Cohen Kagan. You see the years, well, look at that. So she almost lived for 100 years. And well, for me, she is, I don't know, she's sort of a Herzl in a dress. I don't know. She is, well, as far as I know, from the locals I know, people know of her because she was in the politics. She was there actually signing the Declaration of Independence of the State of Israel that I've just mentioned. She was there in the politics. Her way was quite feministic, also helping Women's International Zionist Organization. And she would do everything, starting from the States. So she lived in the States. Again, also coming from Europe with her family. All the time throughout her life, she would be fighting for women's rights. So I found this on the website of the Jewish National Library. Luckily, I did some translation. So this is just a slogan, right? Just to make sure, so when the State of Israel would be established, women would be represented in the government, women would be given the rights, women would be given equal rights, women will be protected, the children will be protected, there would be a security for them. So that's just that's the idea. I hope everything works. I hope chat works as well. Please let me know. It seems a little bit frozen, or maybe it's just Einstein that blew everyone. Okay, thank you so much, Kari. So, Rachel Cohen Kagan, or Rachel, so it's really, I've heard it different ways. You see, she is signing the Declaration of the New Jewish State. So May 14, 1948, this is David Ben-Gurion over there. Is the other guy to the collection of the bad hair days. He always had bad hair days. Trust me. Trust me. I knew you would like it. I knew that. And she actually was the first woman to sign the declaration, because Golda Meir would be the next one. It was in the alphabetical order, so it's Lamed, it's Kaf, and then it's and then it's Mem. Okay, so whatever. She was the first one, and she was the first one in really many ways. So she was originally from Odessa. Well, because when I was in the territory of Ukraine, there was the biggest Jewish population ever. And she came with her family in 1919 in 1919 with a ship called Ruslan to Palestine in 1919. Ruslan, you can, if you were in Tel Aviv and if you joined any of my tours in Tel Aviv that I did in the shore of the Mediterranean, so there is even a Ruslan Street, a very, very short Ruslan Street. It's named after the ship that docked to the shore in 1919. So the Ruslan ship was the ship that would bring from Ukraine, from the former Russian Empire, right? They would be bringing the future novelists, architects, writers, politicians, actors. She was there. She was one of those several hundred people on that ship. And I really, really like that quote. When a person feels that a dream becomes a reality and their heart fills with joy, they can scale the rooftops. To this day, I find it difficult to put into words what I felt on that day. My language abilities, specifically and human language in general, fall short. I think it can only be properly expressed through music and art. A part of her family was in the States, and a part of her family, well, many would also live in the States, but she stayed. And she would be traveling very much. So she is really known in the, well, let's say in the States. I'm not sure about Canada, but I would assume that too. But of course, she is. Well, let's say Henrietta Zold is known, of course, first in Israel because of the Hadassah, but she is remembered in this, let's say, in the States, in the Western world, in the Western Jewry. But when it gets to Rachel Cohen Kagan, of course, it's Israel. Her being in the Israeli politics. However, there was a huge work done just to help establish the Jewish state, obviously, and. Well, that's definitely all the work that had been done before that, also helping women at the times of the mandatory Palestine. It was not easy, but yet, so she made it to become the member of Knesset, and I'm going to be showing you some some parts of her work. Again, it was all to make sure women would be treated equally. When it was the mandatory Palestine, of course, it wasn't the same, but there is one thing that I will be mentioning in a few minutes about the times of the Second World War, what was going on in the women's world with women in Palestine, but even before that. So whenever there would be the small, the yeshuv is you can translate it as a settlement, but actually it would be the name of the of the small unofficial Jewish state that would be formed in the mandatory Palestine. That would be, of course, involved in many conflicts with the Arab population living, and there is no right or wrong, but it's complicated. But definitely she was there to help the families, the women, to make sure there would be medical services available for women and for children. She was there trying to protect women's rights every step in the way. And 1948, just the next year, she was there making sure that the Women International Zionist Organization, which was actually made, a part of it was made, a fraction was made into a political party. She wanted to be there in the Constituent Assembly of 1949 and to be in the Knesset, in the parliament as well. Oh yes, definitely the first. Well, not the first, but definitely one of the feminists. This is for sure. This is true. And I'm talking about Rachel Kagan. Well, also in the connection with one more topic. It's the I promised to talk about the Second World War, and now I'm not going to be talking about a particular woman, but I'm going to be talking about the women and a very interesting movement. Not this time, Mo. Actually, she's not on my list, and I assume there are still probably thousands of ladies that are not on my list. But I've just taken note about it, Mo, from New York. Thank you so much for. She was married. Yes, she was married. She had a family, but also she had a big extended family of many women that she was taking care of. Yes, absolutely. So, well, I'm here to talk about the movement of the women. So now we're going to talk about the Second World War times and to what was happening here in the mandatory Palestine. So the Women's International Zionist Organization, the Hadassah organization, and a few more organizations that would be established. Also, some of them established and supported by Rachel Cohen Kagan, Rachel. So their initiative was, they asked the British government to establish, to found the women's let's say women's division, to make sure women would also join the army. So it says here, join us, sister, encouraging women to enlist. Well, it was like enlisting in the British army, so there was no Israeli army at that point, but it's here. Who is not Israel related? Ruth. I'm not sure which Ruth. Okay, I might know, but I need to look it up. It's so this story is not only about Israeli women, it's called the Jewish women, but still, so my idea is that there is sort of connection with Israel in this or that way. Some of the women that I'm talking about, I'm planning to talk about in this tour, they didn't live up to the year when the Israel would be established, 1948, but there was a big impact. There was a big difference that they made at this or that point. So I don't know about Ruth Ginsburg, so I will look it up. Thank you so much for all the ideas. And plus, I'm quite new to Israel. I'm only starting to become a tour guide. I've only been here for a year, and my mind is about to explode. So I will definitely look it up. Absolutely. Again, so there is no really, strict, requirements that these women had to go through, to be on my list. Definitely not. So I admire all these women equally. So, and I'm going to be showing you just the number of posters that would be around actually all over the mandatory Palestine. Ladies, please, everything is all right. Please. Totally, there is no need to be rude to anyone. It's all good. So many to choose from. Yes, absolutely. Yes, so I believe it's the one that I know you're talking about, and I do think we can connect it to, well, it should connect it to Zionism and to future establishment of State of Israel. Absolutely, I don't see any problem with that. Okay, so now you can see here one more Jewish postcard. Well, not a postcard; it's a poster. So it's interesting here because, well, it says like, put on your beautiful clothes, but I also found out that it's also a quote from the Old Testament. It's Isaiah chapter 52 verse 1. So this is an interesting how something the girls would be learning from their childhood, assuming they would be brought up in the religious families, and even if not, it would still be around everywhere. The Old Testament, it will be everywhere. The Jewish Torah, the Jewish Bible. Sorry, and then it would be transferred to a completely new reality, right? To fight against the Nazis, to help survive the millions of Jews in Europe. It was all there. So there would be established women's regiments. Most of them actually would they would be not on the front line, but they will be helping the soldiers, and they will be some of them would be in the nursing, of course. The Hadassah would be a lot. They would be teaching the nurses, preparing the nurses in the front to the front line and to the hold on a second, I think it's a little bit okay. Wear your fancy clothes. What's the occasion? Oh yeah, what's the occasion? Of course. Well, it means to put on the uniform, the beautiful uniform. So I'm not saying those are very, very kind words, and they're very well put, and it was like, but still, it's the times, right? The tough times. And it says here, Yitgayes. So there is one verb that I learned very well, I would say quite quickly when I came to Israel. Everybody was talking about the army. Many of my friends in Ulpan, in my Hebrew language school, they had boys of around 18, or just like the last years of school, and they were talking about the army, the list in the army. It's mandatory for both boys and girls now, also thanks to several women that I will be talking about later on, particularly one that is mandatory for girls also to serve in the army. But back then, of course, it was not, and there was no Jewish state, so so enlist, it says. And yes, many hundreds of girls were enlisted, but it was, of course, it was voluntarily, absolutely voluntarily. And here, it says like sort of shorten our way to the victory. So the ideas of this sort of regiments and battalions, it was to women to help the men in the front line to also nursing, also medical care, but also, yes, also cleaning, also making sure there was food, also cooking, many things, many things. So it was not really about fighting in the front line, but actually some did. We know that some did. Yes, Dolly. So this is the quote from, I think it was Isaiah. Yes. Yeah. I just made this connection from the connection from Old Testament, from the completely different times, completely different background and narrative to the situation of those days, right? So how it could relate. So that's the idea. Okay, and here's one more story. Actually about several women, and also what change they brought to the society in the second half of the 20th century. Okay, this story is particularly interesting because it's about, it's also, a bit personal, because it's about the Soviet Union, and I am from Russia. I actually was born when it was still the Soviet Union, and there were so many stories about the Jews in the Soviet times, and many things. And my husband Misha is running it's our project about the history of the Jewish diaspora in the Russian Empire, starting from the 18th century up until nowadays, also the Soviet Union. Every Sunday he is running his tours. Part 1 is available for sponsors, the recording, if you missed it. If anybody could share a link for tomorrow's tour, that would be fantastic. So there will be a lot more information to fill in the gaps, that's for sure. But this time, let me just focus on the times after the 6-Day War, which took place in 1967. So the Soviet Union supported the Arab coalition. So it was the war the Egypt, Syria, and Jordan against Israel. It lasted for 6 days, and it definitely changed a lot the geography, let's say the political map of Israel. But we're talking about a bit different thing. So the aftermath of this war was also huge for the Jews living in the Soviet Union. Up until 1970, starting from 1920 up until 1917, nobody was allowed to leave the Soviet Union. So there was no such thing as Aliyah at that point. And starting from 6-Day War, in which the Soviet Union, after which the Soviet Union stopped any diplomatic relations with Israel. However, before that, the Soviet Union was the first country to recognize and support the Jewish state in 1948. So, but then things would be stopped, and many Jews. Also, we know that there would be the Soviet intervention in Czechoslovakia, right, when the Soviet army on the tanks would invade Czechoslovakia, also that, and a few other things. There was My husband is going to talk about it in more details, but there was a plane hijacked by several Jews who wanted to escape from the Soviet Union, who wanted to make Aliyah, but they were not allowed to. So finally, they sort of enable, okay, they allowed the immigration. And one of the first, yes, thank you so much for sharing everything. Yeah, Dolly, I used to read both the Bible and the Old Testament to compare. Well, in the New Testament, you actually include the Old Testament. It's impossible to read the New Testament, the Christian Bible, without having read the Old Testament. Absolutely not. Oh, yes, Olga, there are several Soviet Jewish immigration here, stories, actually many of them. Yes, yes, exactly, about the airplane. Yes, yes, true. My husband's going to talk about this, but in the later episodes. I think he's now only dealing with the revolution. He will be dealing with the revolution and the Jews in the revolution. Absolutely. And you're not an atheist. Well, Dorley, I mean, it's just regardless whether you are religious or not. I mean, these are essential books that I think the world need to know in order to understand how it works, how the Jewish world works, how the Western world works, which is predominantly Christian. Not only, of course, but I'm generalizing. So it's huge. Okay, let's get back to Raisa Palatnik. She was among the first. She was among the first who applied for emigration, and you know what? She was a librarian. There is just the only photo that I managed to find. And she applied for immigration. In order to do that, she had to waive her citizenship, and she was ready to do that. She wanted to immigrate. She wanted to make Aliyah. And instead of that, the next day, just a few days after she would apply, she would go along the street to work, and she was approached by two police officers saying that there was a theft in the school nearby. So can you please answer some of our questions? When she returned to her apartment, she saw another police officer holding a warrant to search her apartment. And while she was searched, while they were searching to find some stuff from school that had been stolen the other day, they came across for example, there's Isaac Brodsky. He was the poet who won Nobel Prize, and he was prohibited. He was forbidden in the Soviet Union, and but she had the story of his trial. So the trial of Brodsky, it would be published in the self-published literature because he was the public enemy. You were not supposed to know him. You were not supposed to read him. So it was anti-Soviet, discrediting Soviet government and the party literature. It was almost a death sentence. It would definitely give you about 10 years of imprisonment. Can you believe that? So, and there were a few more things incriminating her, and then she would be called for interrogation a number of times, and asking, who gave you this? Who did you give this information? And all these things. It's horrible, and Olga can relate. So Olga knows all these things. And however, Olga would immigrate from the Soviet Union, from Russia to the States, but still was the same story. And we shared it also when we met. She was put in prison, and the world learned about it. And this is when the Jewish world outside the Soviet Union would run ablaze. So there would be protests. There would be a community called the 35. So the first was like the 35 women that would be boycotting Soviet Soviet embassies, councils all over Europe and in the States. Yes, it was in 1970s. Up until 1970, it was not allowed to. Yes. Absolutely. So, and then after the hijack, after the well, after many things, finally, the government, the Soviet government said, okay, yes, we allow you to go. But instead, no, those, I would say, handful of people, okay, the hundreds and then thousands, but still, who dared to apply, they would be refused, which would originally, which would further on, from which the notion refuseniks would be coined, would be made. And as a linguist, this is always interesting to me. So refusenik from the refuse, but nik is the morpheme used in the Russian language. So refusenik means откazник. So those who was rejected, who was turned down, the application of whom was turned down. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for sharing the story, Olga. Thank you so much. Thank you. I remember you lived in Moscow, right? So you see, KGB, please release, well, not please, release Raisa Palatnik. So women were on fire. Just the world, not only Jewish societies, but just in democratic states, they were trying to boycott everything Soviet. There was even a boycott of the Bolshoi theater performance, but it would be a bit later, 1974. And there was also, I would say, quite popular story that Raisa Palatnik, she had to spend a couple of years in the prison, and she was there working at a sewing factory. The women there, like the murderers, the criminals, and well, they were there all together. And this is the very popular photograph. You can see it everywhere. You just need to Google for it, refuseniks, and there will be these photographs with the daily ratio for 9 hours of hard labor in that sewing factory. And well, would you like to see the menu? There you go. So you see that. For 9 hours of hard work. And it wasn't, a heated, building, a heated room. No, if it was cold, it was cold. It was just as cold outside as inside. Yeah, it's fine. For almost 2 years. So, and then you see here, there were many, many protests that had to be, of course, officially arranged and approved. And you see here, I'm here to show you Women's Campaign, the 35s, Women's Campaign for Soviet Jewry. So originally, it was just that the very, very first protests to release Raisa Palatnik, they were 35, and this is how later on this organization that would exceed 35, of course, by I don't know, by hundreds and then thousands all over the world for several years. So yes, but it will be still called Women's Campaign for Soviet Jewry. And there is one more story I want to share with this in this regard, which is connected with our days. But just one more, you see. I didn't mention that Raisa Palatnik was from Odessa, but it doesn't really matter. It was done in the same country at that time, and things were just the same throughout the Soviet Union. KGB was very, very strong. So regardless whether you're in Moscow or Leningrad or Odessa or Berdichev, it was the same. Things were very tough for you, especially in some years. So, and KGB was all over. This is true. So that's what I'm saying. So it's irrelevant where you were. All over the Soviet Union, it was one and the same thing. And it was also in the people. The KGB was in the people's heads. So how many of us are here today? March for the refuseniks. Oh, it's interesting. I know at least that Clive can share the story. I know that for sure, but I assume that some more of the haygoers can. So one more story I want to share with you again. So this refuseniks thing would last for actually for quite a long time. For about a decade or so. And Raisa Palatnik was just the first one, but not the last one. So many people would be placed in jail. Maybe people would be just turned down, and they wouldn't be in prison, but there would be a black mark on them. They wanted to leave the Soviet Union. So they are now, okay, well, it's like, uh, they are dangerous. They are public enemies. Keep an eye on them. So, and that's exactly what I'm going to talk about now, the Sharansky family. So the Sharansky family, this is the story of like 1974. Avital Sharansky and Natal Sharansky. She's not, well, she changed her name when she would come to Israel. She's Natalia, I believe, Stiglitz, she's Natalia Stiglitz. So, and please also there will be a photograph of Natal Sharansky. So they got married, and actually, unlike Raisa Palatnik, she had her visa, and they married just a few days before she would leave. So she had her visa. Well, she was given the exit visa. She was approved. So things were getting better. And Raisa Palatnik would be released after 2 years, so it would get better. So it's like in 1974, you would be thinking, okay, so kind of things are getting better. Raisa Palatnik is free and she's in Israel. Okay, so. And yeah, Natalia Avital, so she made Aliyah, and she was expecting her husband to join Nathan Sharansky just some time later. But she was placed in jail. He was placed in jail, so he was imprisoned. And this is when she would break bad, and everywhere possible, every day she would fight for her husband to be released and come back home. Well, like make Aliyah and come to her, and so they would unite. So her voice was so loud, literally, and I would say more metaphorical than literally, but still she made it to the States. She met with Senator Bob Dole. She met she met with the ministers, every prime minister. She met President Ronald Reagan. So you see here, she made it to the White House. So the world media knew about her. She was all over. So the world was supporting her. There were protests all over. There were many attempts to negotiate with the Soviet Union. And finally, well, it happened. So Natal Sharansky would be released. But she ignited the protests all over the world. This is true. So he would be released. You see him coming off the plane, and Shimon Peres, the Prime Minister of Israel, meeting him in person, so greeting him. So he wasn't called the refusenik already. He was called the prisoner of Zion. So those who were in prison for their Zionism. So that's why prisoner of Zion. So Natalia Sharansky, he made it to Ben Gurion Airport finally. So this is an amazing thing. So the refusenik thing is, so that's what he looks now. He's alive, and Avital is alive. I mean, they're doing a great job. However, after Natan came home, after he was released and came to Israel, Avital would disappear from the public view. So she's not really there much. However, I managed to find that they participate in some fundraisers and some interesting events. And I also managed to find the what's the word? It just slipped my mind. A short interview, like a podcast, a 20-minute podcast from one of the daughters. I think they have 2 daughters. So one of them is Rahel Sharansky. She teaches some religious studies in Israel, and she also shares her memories of how Pesach is celebrated in Israel. So Pesach, Exodus from the slavery in Egypt, and how important it was for them, because for Natan Sharansky it was also Exodus from the Soviet slavery and Soviet imprisonment, and how and so this was all extremely important. And yes, so the girls would be, of course, born much later already in Israel, but that story, I remember also a line how Avital's mother would be putting the best china on the table, and it's there. It's very interesting, and I am hoping to be running the tour with Rob Lieberman about Pesach. I'm planning to schedule it very soon, so I hope it works out. Please keep your fingers crossed for me. Rob Lieberman is very busy man, but he always tries to find time for us. So this would be it. So with Rachel Sharansky, this is the only photo I found. So you can look it up. So this podcast with her, like 20 minutes, very interesting, very personal story, very personal story. This would be it. The Sharansky's is Sharansky still in Knesset? I don't think so. I don't think so, but they are pretty much they are pretty much around in political events, in fundraisers, this sort of things. But I'm not sure about the Knesset. I don't think so. There was no logic. There was no idea to connect each and every lady to Israel. The idea was to show you the impact of each and every woman. And it's not necessarily about politics. It's not necessarily about it might be even not about the Zionism per se, but just the impact and the connection with the Jewish world. So thank you so much, everybody, for appreciating my work. This journey is fantastic. So I've been having this list of names in my phone, and they're like so many names. They're also men, but the list of men is, on the one hand, is much bigger. On the other hand, they are so well known, so I'm kind of really shortening it. But the list of women who are just a little bit overlooked, in history, or overshadowed by some other outstanding men or women. Like, I'm not sure. I might even I would even talk about Golda Meir, maybe a little bit in connection with some other women. So my idea is to spread word about some less known women. Marian, thank you so much. We still have some for schmuck. Come by. But not too much though. Yeah. But Baba Ganoush is already gone. My husband just added more salt, and he had it all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dolly. Thank you. From Dolly, from you. Thank you so much. I'm always nervous when I have locals on tours, because I don't feel like I'm local. I'm only here for 1 year, but thank you so much. It's always very, very encouraging. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, I will be sharing the recipe tonight, if I don't fall asleep in a minute after I switch it off, or tomorrow when on train to Tel Aviv to my studies. Thank you. The face when I squeezed garlic. I don't know, yesterday it was like way too much, the eggplants roasted, then the garlic, then the onions, then the lemon juice. Yes. Oh, herring. Yes, herring too. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Thank you. Okay, so this would be it. There are 2 more tours scheduled. It's a torture choosing the women, but I'm trying very hard not to make it International Women's Year. I'm trying very, very hard. I have so many tours planned. There also will be tours in connection with Judaism on the 1st of April. It's within my husband's project. I will be taking you to a pre-recorded tour of the Ethnographic Museum of St. Petersburg, Ethnography Museum, about the exhibition of the Jewish diaspora, the history of Jewish diaspora. We're going to be seeing the clothing, the household objects, many things. We're going to be seeing some religious objects as well, the Torah scrolls, the yads, the thing you would be touching Torah with, because you're not allowed to touch the scroll with your hands. Many things. It's fantastic. I'm in love with this museum. I have a license, so I will be providing you the tour. There was pre-recorded for us. It's the 1st of April. So I'll be happy. Well, my husband will be happy to see you tomorrow on his tour. I will be studying and keeping my fingers crossed for him. I know he did great last time. He worked so hard on this project. And also next weekend on Saturday, we are singing songs in Yiddish. I might be a bit too loud, actually. My son is asleep in that room. My husband is probably also asleep in the other room. Okay, so that's way too personal. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Many tours are scheduled. Please make sure you follow me on Instagram. I'm Anna, full stop, your guide. I'm on Facebook. You can always DM me for questions. And yeah, this will be it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Jolie, I'm sorry, maybe a little bit. But still, thank you so much, everyone. And I would like to wrap it up, well, as usual, by showing you my beautiful artwork. Okay, it's not much original, but still. So, the remarkable Jewish ladies, thank you so much for joining. And see you on my other tours. There's also going to be a tour at the Walk in Tel Aviv at the Rothschild Boulevard. I think it's this Wednesday. And also celebrating of my year since my Aliyah in Tel Aviv. We're going to be walking along the promenade of Tel Aviv. We haven't been there yet. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you. And bye-bye. Shavua Tov, to whom it may concern. Have a good week. And if it's still Shabbat in your area, Shabbat Shalom. I'm so sorry. They should have wished it before we started. Bye-bye. Until then. Yes. Until then. Bye.